first, just to put it in context, because it's shocking how many organizational changes were made in such a small, short period of time. But in the first half of August, we have the actual meeting where the vote is held of whether the 12 is going to lead the church or Sidney is going to lead the church. Then a month later, we have Sidney excommunicated. And then that takes us to September 29th. And this is right before the October General Conference of the Church. Brigham starts making significant changes to the church organization. The first thing he does is he creates 9 new quorums of the 70. Now, the church had only had one quorum of the 70. And on one day, he goes from 1 to 10 quorums of the 70. So big change. The scriptural requirements say that each quorum needs to be led by 7 people. So if you have 70-70 in the quorum of the 70, and then you split that into 10 quorums, you now have 10 quorums of 7 people each. So you've got the bare minimum. Also, according to the scriptures, it says that in order for the decision to have any validity, you have to have a majority of the quorum in attendance. So when you only have 7 people in a quorum of 70, you never have a majority, and so none of these decisions are actually going to have any validity. So immediately he's diluted the power base where no decision by the quorum of the 70 is going to be effective according to the scriptures, because now each quorum only contains the bare minimum of 7 leaders, but doesn't have a majority of people. Doctrine and Covenants section 107 is where we can read this, starting in verse 27. It says, "And every decision made by either of these quorums must be by the unanimous voice of the same. That is, every member in each quorum must be agreed to its decisions in order to make their decisions of the same power or validity one with another. A majority may form a quorum when circumstances render it impossible to be otherwise. Unless this is the case, their decisions are not entitled to the same blessings which the decisions of a quorum of 3 presidents were anciently." So immediately we have this case where none of these quorums of the 70 have a majority on this date. The next problem is that it actually says in section 107 that the 7 presidents of the 70 are the ones who are supposed to choose other 70s. So verse 95, "These 7 presidents are to choose other 70 besides the first 70 to whom they belong and are to preside over them." We don't have that case here. Brigham is the one making the decisions. Brigham is the one creating these new quorums, and Brigham is not a 70.
And he's not even a high priest.
And he's not even a high priest.
I mean, I interject that almost to beat a dead horse, but the leader is supposed to be a high priest. You know, the apostles, the 12 apostles, are elders unless they are chosen by the mouth of God. And we've talked about that in a previous podcast. So why on earth is Brigham doing this?
That's what I would love to know. Is at this point, all he's done is take the existing quorum and split it up, and he hasn't added any people to it or anything like that, but he's reorganized it. Logically, I can't see any other reason except to dilute this power base. Now, as we'll find out, in another week or so, he makes some more decisions that may explain what he was doing. But
he's laying the groundwork. He's laying the groundwork for his master plan.
I can't get inside his mind and know what he was thinking, but it sure looks that way. October 6th and 7th of that year, 1844, is when the General Conference was held. And Brigham is now presiding as the head of the Quorum of the 12. This is the first General Conference of the church where the Quorum of the 12 is running the show. William Marks, who had been the stake president, who had stood up and defended Sidney Rigdon just 1 month earlier, is removed from his position as stake president in this General Conference. So just in this first month of Brigham being in charge, lots of changes happening, and he's just getting started. So October 8th is when he really starts making the changes. On this date, Brigham ordained more than 400 men to the 70 on one day. And this included 100% of the deacons, 100% of the teachers, and 100% of the priests in the Nauvoo stake. all of those men holding those offices were immediately on that day made 70. He also scooped up every elder under the age of 35. So by the end of that day, 80% of Nauvoo's priesthood holders were now in the 70. That's a serious change of organizational structure in one day's time. From what I can see, there's no rationale given for why he would vacate the entire Aaronic priesthood of deacons, teachers, and priests, but he completely gutted and left no one left in those offices.
It's just really obvious to me that Brigham was looking to call people to be 70 because he has some scriptural basis for the 70 being under the direction of the 12. And we've spoken previously about Joseph's teachings about how the 12 have no authority, no jurisdiction in the stake. And yet they are in a stake in Nauvoo. And the only way that Brigham can get those people reporting to him is to call them to be 70. He's taking all of the priesthood that he can possibly hoover up and calling them to be part of the quorums of the 70. And I think he gets to, I mean, how many quorums did he finally get to? I mean, it was a ridiculous number of quorum of 70.
By 1846, he had created 35 quorums of the 70 with over 2,400 men in there. And the key thing to point out is as he's putting them into the 70, they're under his authority now, but he's removing them from the authority of the stake president. So he's just had this run-in with the stake president where William Marks stood up to him. He sacks William Marks, and then he just completely drains the Nauvoo stake of all of the priesthood so that William Marks' successor has no ability to actually do anything because there's no men left under his authority.
Right, and presumably because the saints voted for the 12 to lead them, that was the basis upon which he's now reorganizing all these quorums under his direct authority so he can issue commands, directives, whatever, and his rival, any rivalry that he may have with the stake, they're completely gutted. I mean, just for context here, the church today has 8 quorums of 70 that administer the church throughout the world, you know, as opposed to Brigham and his 36 quorums and 2,400 men. It's mind-boggling.
We had, 4 times as many quorums of the 70 when there was about 12,000 people, 20,000 people in the church, and they were just centered around Nauvoo and just sending missionaries to England and that region. And so, yeah, the scale is just totally off for the organization he created.